we have a responsibility with the stories we tell, whether you want that responsibility or not. Because the story that you're telling is, and the people that you're writing, that is going to have an influence on people. And so I think that we have a responsibility to be mindful and be intentional about what that influence is, because you will have an influence regardless.
Hello, writers and creatives. Welcome to Bookmark Live at Black Writers Weekend. We are in this amazing space thanks to Black Writers Weekend and the Riverside Epicenter. We're thrilled to have Kristin Irish Johnson here as we celebrate and uplift the voices and stories of Black writers. I am the host, Shamiko Reed, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about Kristin. So Kristin Irish Johnson is a queer autistic showrunner, screenwriter, and film producer, as well as the creator, writer, and executive producer of AMC's hit supernatural TV series, Wicked City. She is the founder of the Black Screenwriter Alliance, a community that helps Black screenwriters connect and develop their scripts and careers so they can make an impact in the industry. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. I just finished teaching a workshop and I just feel like really energized.
You know, I had an opportunity to sit in on your workshop today, and it was all about how character is key. And I really loved how interactive you made it for the audience. I love that you shared a personal story about casting a character and not wanting the backstory you had in mind for the character to be influenced by the appearance of the actress and the role. Mm-hmm. And so tell me a little bit more about your experience here at Black Writers Weekend. How do you feel about speaking?
I mean, I love teaching and I love, speaking and being able to give back to other writers. That's why, I created Black Screenwriter Alliance. So being able to give back and to shift people's perspective is really what I try to do. That's what I want to do with the workshop is like, okay, how can I get them to think about character and character development in a different way? How can we explore it in a way that is a little bit new, that can have a lot of different people giving perspectives so that we can really see how many things can influence your characters and like the decisions that they can make. So, being able to like I've actually never taught a workshop in that way. So like I've taught I teach a bunch of different workshops, but like being able to teach it, I'm like, I only got 30 minutes. My normal character development workshop is like 2 hours. I can't cram all this stuff in. So I was like, all right, let's do an activity. Let's make it a group activity and an exploration. And so I think that in doing that, it gets to have people think about their writing and their work and their characters in a different way. Because as storytellers, and I think in particular as Black storytellers, we have a responsibility with the stories we tell, whether you want that responsibility or not. Because the story that you're telling is, and the people that you're writing, that is going to have an influence on people. And so I think that we have a responsibility to be mindful and be intentional about what that influence is, because you will have an influence regardless. And so being able to bring just some of those elements through to help people to understand more and explore more in their own writing and how they shape stories is just like a delight. And I'm glad that I'm here and glad that Black Writers Weekend is happening.
I will say that was an amazing call to do the character exploration activity. It really made that 30 minutes impactful. I could tell like people slowly started coming in and more people got in and like, hold on, wait, what's going on in here? And then everybody raised your hand. Now, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? It made it a lot of fun that we got to participate, and it really challenged us to think about character development in a different light, because not only did you give us a brief backstory, but the way you kept changing it and then getting audience feedback was really engaging. So I'm glad you made that call to do it. And so to hear that this is your first time doing it that way was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad.
It made me happy that I got to sit in on that session before coming up here to interview you today. So a follow up to that, you talked about one of the reasons you started the Black Screenwriters Alliance. Tell us more about that and your ultimate goals with the Black Screenwriters Alliance.
Yeah, so Black Screenwriter Alliance is an online membership community for Black screenwriters who are ready to, or they're wanting to start a career in film and TV. And it's a place for us to come together, to bring other Black screenwriters together so that together we can develop stronger TV film projects, and then also be able to take those projects and go out and either sell them or get hired. And because we are Black people and the film and TV industry is not always so welcoming or friendly to us, the idea also is to help Black screenwriters to build that confidence to navigate the industry and to make other connections and really standing in the power of their voice and their stories and what they can bring to it, instead of maybe sometimes feeling like diminished because we're not always welcome. So the idea is that we're coming together and exploring what is really possible when we do come together, when we don't have the air of competitiveness, but the air of like collective support, and how that can make a difference in someone's journey. Because that made a difference in mine.
Amazing, amazing. And so I want to talk about your bio. Creator, writer, and executive producer of Wicked City. What has working with AMC been like for you? And how does it feel to have one of your shows considered a hit?
Oh, I mean, it's great. So AMC is the parent network. The network, the actual streaming network that Wicked City is on, is all Black. Okay. And I'm so grateful to All Black because, one, they took a chance on something that we hadn't seen on TV before, and that's exactly why we created it. So we knew that we had an opportunity to pitch a TV series through the executive producer of the show, Tressa Azrael Smallwood, who she was connected to All Black. And so we had the opportunity to pitch something, and we were told that they wanted something different. So like something that would feel kind of familiar, but something that was different. And I was like, well, I don't see anything supernatural on their streaming network. So I knew that I wanted to do something supernatural and Black centered. And I immediately thought Black witches, because I love witch stories. You know, I love witch stories. My partner in that is Serena M. Lee, who created it with me. You know, I went to her and I was like, okay, I want to do a Black witch story. Let's pitch it to All Black. Want to go in on this with me? She was like, let's go for it. Because we like witch stories. We like Charmed when we were a kid. I liked Sabrina the Teenage Witch, you know. Who doesn't like those stories? They were on for forever. There's a huge audience for them. But we don't get to see Black people and Black women specifically centered in those stories. So we wanted to create something like that you have not seen on TV before. And I was like, hopefully they're into it. And I'm really glad that they saw the potential in it and saw the power in not only the genre and centering Black people in sci-fi supernatural genre, where we are often relegated to side characters or villains, but saw the power of that and centering Black women. That whole first season, I think we had like we had three men in speaking roles, I should say. I think we had 3 men in speaking roles and everybody else was a woman. And that was intentional. We really wanted to uplift Black women with the show and create characters that were, you know, complex. And All Black was able to see that. And we were like, all right, we're bringing something forward. And the fans afterward, the response from them really showed us that we were on the right track, and that we made the right decision in the direction that we wanted to go, and that we are not the only ones who wanted a Black witch show, that there are plenty of other people out there who want something like that. And so now, because we've been able to do that, and because All Black believed in the show and took a risk on the show, they didn't have anything supernatural on their network. So because they took a risk on the show, there are other people out there who are like, I gotta write my story.
Absolutely.
And I gotta get it out there. And there's opportunity to make that happen. You know, like I like to say that we stand on the shoulders of giants with Black Panther, with Lovecraft Country, even with Insecure, because Jordan is a real insecure, awkward person, you know, awkward character. That those are the shows that I think of that help pave the way for Wicked City to come through. And now Wicked City also gets to pave the way for other shows to come through, because it shows, hey, this is a hit. There's an audience for this. people want more of this and Black people want more of this, and they will watch it. And that started with, you know, me and Serena having an idea and all Black believing in the idea and like bringing it through.
I think I love what I love the most about what you just said is that you can acknowledge the shows that paved the way for you, but that your show is blazing its own trail as well. And so a lot of times we get pigeonholed into what people think we will watch, but you just push that barrier down and say, actually, we have a diverse interest, and I can bet the audience will like this show as well. And so another thing I wanted to highlight from your bio was your autism diagnosis. And so how has your autism diagnosis validated the way you view yourself and the work you do?
Wow, so I'm late diagnosed, actually. It maybe like a year and a half when I was talking to my therapist, and I was just like, I think, because I thought it was like, I'll tell you, I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I was like, I think I have like OCD, and she was just like, I don't really think that's it. Like, oh, we'll explore it, but like, it didn't land. Like there were too many things that did not connect. And then after a while, and I had been following someone online who talked a lot about autism, and I was like, oh my God, I think that's, am I autistic and not OCD? And I went to my therapist, and she was like, now that makes way more sense. So having that validated, and then realizing like, oh, this is, I guess, this kind of feeling of like, why am I the way that I am, and why are certain things so hard, that understanding like, oh, this is part of like how your brain works as an autistic person. I'm like, oh, it doesn't make it easier, but at least I get it now. And so it's allowed me to see there are certain things that I'm really good at, probably because of my autism. Like I've got a really strong mind for continuity and pattern recognition in story, which obviously serves me when it comes to, you know, Wicked City and character development and backstory. But there's other things that are like really challenging, and now I understand why they're challenging, even as I maybe still struggle with like, okay, but how can I navigate this? So one thing that came out of that also was realizing that I have to be intentional about getting more rest. And as an autistic person, my brain does not really shut off. Like, it's just how the brain works. It fires, and it's like at rest, it's 42% more active than your average person who's not autistic. And so that means that like when I sleep think, so I'm not really getting a lot of rest. And because this industry is so demanding, and I'm such a person who's like, I can do it, I'm a team player, I'll totally sacrifice everything to make it happen. I have to really fight that, to be like, okay, I actually have to stop. I have to learn how to shut off. Sometimes I push it. Sometimes I'm pushing last night I was pushing myself, just making sure that my workshop was good. And that it was ready, you know, but I have to really build in new practices to give myself more rest and to set myself up in a structure so that I can perform at my optimal level and also, you know, not totally burn out. So it's been an interesting experience, and learning how to be autistic and navigate the industry, because sometimes it feels impossible, but I know it's not because people do it, you know. But one thing for me is I'm like, if I can figure out a way to do this and to do it in a healthy and a sustainable way, because you can push yourself, but you only push yourself for so long, right? And then you're going to crash. So if I can do it in a sustainable way, and that can maybe shift things for other people with autism who want to work in the industry or navigate the industry and are used to, this is the way it is, push. And it's like, well, maybe I can find another way. And if I can find another way, then they can find another way. And that leaves, that creates and opens up more space for people like me and other people who are neurodivergent in other ways to be able to still come in and have there be, this is my dream, have there be more room for like accommodations and understanding and working with, and not just seeing people like me as like, oh, this person's a burden, or like they're lazy or they don't want to do something. And it's like, no, I will bust my ass. I will work so hard, but also I have to get rest or I'm going to end up being useless at some point.
Understood. And so I want to shift gears a little bit. I appreciate that answer, because it definitely will help a lot of people listening, and it kind of there were a lot of things you said that I can relate to. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you know, that makes sense. And just being able to prioritize your health and setting boundaries in the workplace, like you said, it's like it doesn't make it easier, but at least you understand now what's going on with you. But I do want to shift gears a little bit, and I would like you to share with us the difference between being a showrunner and an executive producer.
It depends, because showrunners are typically executive producers, but the showrunner is the creative lead of a creative lead of a TV show. So they are the one who is creatively responsible for everything that goes on screen. You know, they're usually involved in casting. Different showrunners showrun in different ways. And I have like a couple of projects that I have in, you know, that I'm working on in development that I'm show running. And so, you know, different showrunners run in different ways, but not every executive producer is a showrunner, but typically your showrunner is an executive producer. So some executive producers are really more on the business side, or it just depends. Like there's so many different things that executive producers do. So with Wicked City, I am an executive producer. I'm actually not the showrunner of Wicked City, but I am one of the executive producers. And so outside of like the writing, I'm involved in a lot of like the creative elements and things like that. But the showrunner, they typically are, if not running the writer's room, they're overseeing it. They are responsible for like all the scripts that come through and making sure that the story is cohesive and things like that. So showrunners really work heavily on the creative side. So I do a lot of that kind of similar work on Wicked City, that is. But executive producers, they might do all kinds of different things. Okay. Yeah, it just depends on what they're doing.
So how did you find yourself on this creative career path? Did you study others? Did you fall into it just doing what you love?
I always wanted to tell stories. So I had thought about going into film and like being a director. Like when I was in college, I went to college to be a director. And then I was like, I do not like this. Probably because I was autistic and there was certain things where I like being able to change things on the fly that like my brain is not good at. And so I was like, all right, let me go into writing. Did not love what I was hearing about the how screenwriters are treated in the industry. And I was like, I'm going to go write books. So I changed my major, actually. I was like 2 or 3 years into my degree, changed my major, switched to fiction writing, but I had a lot of work in film and in screenwriting. And so I was like, I'm going to write books. And for years after that, I was like writing, you know, novels that none of them were published, but I was writing novels, I was thinking of story, and I was doing all kinds of other jobs. I was working at my martial arts school, I was a yoga teacher, I was doing all kinds of different stuff. And the idea being that like, okay, well, if I can do something where I have a little bit of freedom, I can spend my other time writing. I actually came into the film industry I'll back up. I came into the film industry just not in a very traditional way at all. I was actually living out of a suitcase in my friend's apartment because I was debilitatingly disabled. I mean, I'm still disabled, but it's not as painful now. And so I couldn't work a regular job. So I was broke. But I knew what I wanted to do, and I kept staying in that vision of it. And so I was listening to a podcast. There was producer Tressa Aswell Smallwood, who is here this weekend, and she was on the episode. I had never heard of her, and I was like, I got to go learn from her. So I sent her an email, I made her a video, I sent it to her, and I ended up being her intern. So I was her intern for like 6 months, and then before I came and I was worked on my first feature film, which was with her and Megamind Media, and that was The Available Wife, and I was an associate producer on that one. But it came from me being broke and I was in a house, I guess. It was not my house. I was in someone's apartment, but it started there and me just believing in what I wanted to do and that I wasn't always going to be where I was. And how do I move forward with what I am dreaming of and excited about and the vision that I have for myself? I put myself with the right people, took a chance. And she took a chance on me because she didn't know me. She got 20 people in her email, you know, like wanting to work for her. And she was like, something about this person. And so she brought me on as like, really, like I said, I started as an intern because I didn't know anything about the film industry. And then I continued on with her for, I mean, several years, you know, and they, you know, Megamind Media produced Wicked City. So that's how I came into it. It was very not traditional, but this is what happens when you believe in what you want to do and you find a way.
I love that you shared that because I've met Tressa before. She is wonderful, but you had that grit and determination to make it happen, and not everybody has that. And the reason I asked the story about how you got on that career path is because a lot of people, I used to teach middle school, so a lot of people don't know what's available, how to get those jobs. And like, they might be a great artist or a great writer, and then people tell them to go write books or to become a teacher as well. Mm-hmm. And nobody really shows people how to get into that creative career path. And so I want to thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed your session. I really enjoyed getting to know more about you here. And I hope that you can tell people how to follow you and stay connected.
Yes, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at Kristin Irish, KristinIris, or my website, www.kristinirish.com. I also have Black Screenwriter Alliance. You can go to blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co, and you can start for 7 days free, 7-day free trial, and then it just goes monthly membership after that. So, you know, and if you have any questions about it, you can always like hit me up in my DMs. I'm happy to answer.
Great meeting you today, and I want to say thank you to our amazing sponsors, Afros and Audio, Ike Ocean, Amazon KDP, All Americans Vote, Delphine Legacy Media, and Riverside Epicenter. Your support makes this event possible. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Black Writers Weekend and join the conversation using the hashtag BWWBookmarked on social. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of this weekend.